Hi, I'm Natalie Reyna with SailPoint. This is Identity Talks. Today I'm joined with Optiv's Julie Talbot-Hubbard. Optiv is a leading services and delivery partner with SailPoint. Welcome, Julie.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
We are so glad to have you. So the first question I have for you is, what is the number one business challenge you see most often that identity can resolve?
So it's hard for me to think of one main business challenge because I look at identity really being able to solve three large business challenges that organizations face today. One, common user experience. That's something that we're seeing it from our employees and our consumers. Really, that driving the conversation. Second one is productivity. When we think about when individuals join the organization, how long it takes to provision their access, getting them up to speed. The last one I would say is compliance. So when somebody leaves the organization, you're being able to really understand and articulate who's got access to what and making sure you've got your critical assets protected. With cloud and organizations really moving to a cloud or a hybrid environment, all of those three areas really become more critical for organizations. So I really see identity as an intersection and helping organizations solve for all of those.
Now that we've talked about some of the challenges, let's talk about implementation. Can you share 2 to 3 best practices that will set enterprises up for success and have some quick identity wins?
Definitely. From my experience, both as a practitioner as well as leading our services team at Optiv, I'll break it down into three steps or 3 areas. One, making sure you have an identity program. So having an identity strategy, identity roadmap, as well as having business and I call support organizations, your HR organization, privacy, risk, having those really embedded into that identity program. The second piece of that program is really around a governance process and having that where you've got a process to really govern and help prioritize, whether it be the functionality of the identity system that you're putting in place, process changes that are required, or it could be just what applications are we prioritizing first based on compliance or again, usability requirements for the users. The second best practice I've seen and I would recommend really is around asset inventory, process, and identity data hygiene. And what I mean by that when I break down asset inventory is really just understanding your assets, your application inventory, your hardware inventory, where your most critical data sits, what hardware does that data sit on? Because that again will help you prioritize effectively your rollout of your implementation. The second one is really around ownership of applications, understanding who owns AD groups within your organization, who owns those roles within the application, because that's something, again, as you're going into an implementation, if you don't understand who owns those or have that mapped out, that's going to be additional work you're going to have to do during that implementation and will slow you down. And the last one is just really around identity data hygiene and making sure your data is clean around your identities, around your employees and your contractors. The third best practice I would say is just, I've seen this time and time again, when you're doing an implementation, a lot of organizations leverage one identity engineering team, which again, I think that's fine, but I also think you've got to make sure you carve out enough time in their day to spend to the implementation, because we all know that there's operational issues that come up that they'll get pulled into. So those are the 3 best practices that I would recommend that organizations implement really to have a smoother identity system implementation.
Thank you for your insight, Julie. That's a lot of great information for enterprises today to work with. Again, I'm with Julie Talbot-Hubbard with Optiv. This is Identity Talks. See you next time.